A swan is a bird that is a symbol of gracefulness and calmness. They also symbolize sensitivity, love and beauty. Swans mate for life and are usually portrayed in mythology as pairs, symbolizing love and monogamous relationships and loyalty and trust in partnerships. Because it has domain over water as well as air, the swan is considered to be the bird of light and is associated with the dawning of the sun. The swan is also associated with Zeus, the god who transformed himself into a swan in order to seduce Leda, the beautiful mortal queen. In 1969, in consultation with world leaders, the mute swan was adopted as the worldwide symbol for peace. It has been said that it is without doubt one of the most elegant, graceful and devoted creatures on God's earth, with family values second to none.
Very good considering you've got like a little wildlife oasis. 20 minutes and you're in the heart of London, dirty, nasty, grossy and all that, and all of a sudden you're up in here in these nice green places. It's wonderful. Like, what a place to have on your backyard. Plus you've got the kingfishers in here, like all the little moorhens and the coots always fighting. It's a great little place to watch the wildlife. It's beautiful looking, gets you away from the streets and things. You see the wildlife, as in the swans, which come round and try to nest and do their bit, but get a bit pestered by the dogs. Yeah, the dogs killed one of the male swan, of the female swans, and now she's swimming around out there on her own, really not knowing what to do with herself, because her mate's been taken away from her just by stupidity of letting dogs get there. I mean, we're fishermen and people tend to think fishermen, they're the ones going to hurt the wildlife, but you couldn't be any farther from the truth. I mean, we look after them, every aspect of it. We feed them, and they come near us. They wouldn't keep coming near us if they were scared of us and we done nasty things to them. But then you just get people with the dogs, which are like, you know, they're an animal. They're fighting, attacking mode, and there's staffs and all sorts of dogs. They're powerful dogs, and the dogs are still just allowed to run free inside. Whereas there is a dog area further down where nobody goes. Down the bottom end of this little pond here, there's a little sectioned off bit for the dogs, but people don't bother with that when they just let them run wild, and especially the dog walk, because you've got about 12, 15 dogs they can't control. And the swans are sitting out on the bank, all the dogs just tear at them and scare them and make them fly into the water, and sometimes they get caught up. People feed the ducks and the swans, they all come in one tight close bit, all the little ones and big ones all having breads off someone, and then the dog will come flying in and just dive into the lot of them, and that's probably where a lot of the young ones go by the wayside, because everything's flapping about and smacking them. And especially when they've got their young, the male one will protect them because they're coming in. Unfortunately, he's come a cropper and one's got him and killed him.
The mute swan can be tame, especially to those who feed it daily. It is aggressive in defence of its nest. The cob male is responsible for defending the cygnets while on the water, and will try and chase any predator out of his family territory, and will keep animals such as foxes and birds at bay.
And they'll sit within feet, 3 or 4 foot of you, and sit there. So you've sort of got a couple of mates, but it's wildlife, and they're trusting you, and you should be like pleased about the fact, that you're actually there with a wild animal, and it's liking your company. And then you get some idiot come along with a dog, comes tearing down, don't bother calling it, thinks it's funny, the swan has to fly away quickly, or stops and has a fight to defend itself if this is on the nest. And then the obvious happens, which has just happened to the old boy that was there. And he got killed by a dog just running down and not being kept hold of.
Yeah, the Heath's a fantastic place to walk dogs. There's absolutely nothing like it in North London at all. And in my opinion, it's completely impossible to exercise a dog adequately if you don't let it off the lead. So it's very important that dogs are well cared for, well trained, and walked by people who are on the lookout and concerned about the environment as well. I'm aware of the swan that was killed quite recently over on the Vale of Health Pond, and the young one that died as well. I don't know if that was by a dog, but it only lived a few days, I think. It's absolutely tragic. I don't think it's an us and them situation with the dogs and the wildlife. Most dog owners absolutely love the wildlife and love animals, and that's why they've got dogs. But it is a case of being alert and being able to control your dog and just not letting it in a pond if there is a swan there. Very often the people who walk their dogs here every day are very responsible, and then you get people who come occasionally, the dogs aren't used to it, they're used to just going to a local little park, they're not properly exercised, they're quite out of control, and that's more likely to happen. But I don't want to blame individuals. I don't know anything about the actual dog that was involved in that incident. I certainly don't think it should be attached to the breed or anything like that. I think that's very, very just ignorant, really.
Get out, get a stick. Get a stick, actually. Yeah, actually.
Secret attack. No! What the hell is that? That weasel?
Ancient creature.
It's very easy to just blame the owner. I think, accidents can happen. There's no absolutely safe way. Certainly, if an owner's encouraging a dog or not stopping a dog, if they're encouraging it to swim and there are swans in the pond and that sort of thing, then that's certainly the owner's responsibility. Really, your dog should be with you, and if somebody's right there, then they need to be able to control their dog. Maybe more education as well. I mean, swans can be extremely aggressive in the mating season towards dogs. So, for the sake of the dog as well, it's as well not to let it anywhere near the swan.
The dog just, it's the male was doing its protection bit, whereas if they put a fence up, which they did afterwards, which was a bit late, because once it had gone then they do it, whereas they should have known that there was so much aggravation between dogs and the swan, because he was getting more and more irate and getting more angry all the time because of the dogs coming in and messing while he's got, like, his missus was on the nest just over. So, but then when he got killed, then they put the netting up, put the fencing up. This has been going on for years. The dogs go down and the swan comes and fronts the dog. They think it's funny and they laugh. But it only takes a split second to go wrong, which it has. And now that swan is no more. And the sad facts of when the dogs kill the other swan, the other one suffers just as much. Or even more, because it's still here missing its mate.
As a general rule, it is true that swans mate for life when circumstances allow. If and when a mate is lost, it is thought that the surviving mate will go through a grieving process, like humans do.
The poor little love there, she's swimming about in the afternoons, she's flying about, she seems as though she doesn't know what to do, she's lost now. And she keeps doing little calls just in the afternoon times, which is quite sad because you can tell she's calling for her mate, where are you?
And she lost her cygnet recently.
And she lost her cygnet as well, yeah, and she had 3 eggs but only 1 hatched. But the trauma that she went through is not surprising really that something went wrong. I mean, the ones she had probably went just by natural causes, foxes or, attacks, bear and gulls come down, things like that. It's nasty, but that's how it happened, and she'd have been better off if she'd have had the male with her. Would have been more protection for the litter.
Although I heard just before the cygnet disappeared, a dog had killed a little duckling.
Oh, that's right, yes,
pond.
Sorry, yeah, I forgot about that. It dived out and jumped on loads of little diddly little bundles of fur, like little ping pong balls, just going along, and the dogs just jumped straight over the top and bit it, and people just let it go down. They were looking at the ducks. They just run down, got it, and just took the poor little thing away. So it's a sad case when people get like that. straight away 2 staffs run down and attacked the Mrs. Swan when she'd lost her little and she'd lost her partner, and then they just let the dogs come down and attack her. You know?
And what do you think the people who work on Hampstead Heath do to stop it happening, if anything?
Well, not really that much indeed. They've been put on sort of a strict rule of just getting everything neat now, not actually dealing with what people are concerned with. Lots of complaints go in about the swans being attacked and vice versa, and all the other little wildlife that's about. There's no real anything done with any great urgency. They just come up and go, oh, did you see this? Well, if you know they keep going through these fences and places like that, cordon it off. Put a decent fence up there where they can't get through. Put a gate there so anyone can walk down if they want. But don't allow the dogs to come in and ravage at the edge of the thing and tear everything up and mess everywhere as well, because they can't control them that.
But if there were signs up saying...
If there were signs up, then maybe some would take notice, but there's quite a few that really do not care about anything. They'll just do what they want to do, and they think they're above it all. And it doesn't appeal to me, it must appeal to that little man down there, kind of attitude, you know. So then he just carry on and let them go mad, and it's all over, especially for the swans.
This was a rather nice story in the local paper about how after the female swan, who had been either threatened or attacked by a dog and had been taken to Victoria Docks to recover, how photographer Ron Vester had picked her out and brought her back to the Heath to be reunited with her partner.
These 2 swans are about 10 years old, and they've nested at least 8 times, and right now they have 2 cygnets that were born July the 3rd this year, 2010, and after 33 days she was returned here, and they immediately bred, and we're lucky to have
come back
2.
If you hadn't gone and got her, probably, would you say?
She was brought back by a friend.
But it was you who rang up and said, is she going to be brought back? And they hadn't planned for her to do that, so you went and got her.
I was told that by a ranger that they would not do rescues. I said, that's right, it's not a rescue, it needs to be returned. It was taken away from here. And so I called up a sanctuary, and they spoke to the Corporation of London and said, then got it okayed. I couldn't do that as a member of the public. And so I went with the Swan rescue team to Royal Victoria Dock and pointed out the correct swan, and then she was picked up and she was brought back here, and you can see it's been very successful. And now the fact is, this is one of 2 pairs only left on Hampstead Heath, including Kenwood. As when I came in here in 2004, there were 7 pairs of swans, and now we're down to 2. One has to wonder if they're really welcome to be here.
They're just being decimated now because of, well, which turns out to be dog attacks. The dogs are still get thrown into the water and stuff to attack them. So, but it's everywhere. I mean, even over Highgate, it's even worse. When I did work here, we caught some lads, if you want to call them it, holding the dog behind them, putting out bread to get the swan to them, and then letting their staffs go at the swans, which I did see when I used to work here on the Heath. And one morning we come over and just see a swan totally ripped apart to pieces where they let their dogs do it.